peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Viewers, good morning. This morning, I want to address the issue of Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. The legacy of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya keeps on moving, keeps on going forward and forward. Since the handshake in 2018 that brought about the peace, the tranquility, the unity of purpose, President Uhuru's star has been rising. All over Africa, people are thinking of using the model that Kenya used to stop any form of violence, chaos on the streets after elections. As you know, all of you are aware that elections in Africa produce two things: after or before or after the voting. Disputed elections, winner takes it all, loser doesn't accept the results. But the Kenyan model takes us miles and miles away from the normal type of democracy. The democracy, a negotiated format, a consensus format. A democracy that gives consensus a chance. A democracy that talks about the future of a country, the unity of a country, as opposed to a fragmented country, polarized country, where most African countries find themselves in. We have seen in the last 10 years or so, most of the elections in Africa have been contested by the opposition. Very few people in Africa, countries in Africa, where opposition has conceded defeat and come up to congratulate the winner. We have seen the South African model has worked very well. The Ghanaian model has worked so well. I don't see any other country in Africa where the models have worked well. I thought it would be Sierra Leone, but today we see Sierra Leone going back to the same ethnic tensions, as you can see from the reports that are circulating in the international media and the local media. So elections in Africa are contentious issues. They create a contentious position, create a departing point for the people of Africa, of that particular nation. The legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta, therefore, will be remembered for having brought the tranquility that we have today, the peace, the new format, the new tool of having a better organized civil Africa, an Africa without violence, an Africa without chaos after elections, when the opposition accepts to work for the interests of a nation, not personal interests. This has worked in Kenya, and thank you very much, Your Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, for the tenacity and the steadfastness that you have guided this handshake up to today. For those who want to mutilate the handshake belittle the handshake. One lesson they should learn is to look at Libya. Libya was once a territory we all respected. It is no more. Let's keep the handshake and the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Thank you.
A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and of course the show, the television station is Punchline Africa TV, where our business is to talk about Africa. I hope that your day has started off well. We have a lot to talk about today, but first I'd like us to bring us up to date with the latest in terms of COVID-19 statistics here in Kenya and perhaps Uganda and South Africa, and also, the latest figures in the continent. And we start with Kenya, where the confirmed cases right now stands at 79,322 cases. The death toll is 1,417 cases so far. Recoveries is 52,974. Uganda confirmed cases have topped 18,890. 191 people have died in Uganda, and recoveries right now stands at 8,832 cases. And South Africa confirmed cases is at 775,502. The death toll there is 21,201. Recoveries is 716,444. And then we go to Ethiopia, where we've seen a lot of protests and upheaval going there in the recent times, and that has contributed to an increased numbers there. And right now, Ethiopia stands at 107,109 cases. The death toll in Ethiopia is 1,664, and the recoveries is at 66,574. So the global figures, before you get to the global figures, the total cases in Africa this morning stands at 1,721,350 cases. The number of people that have died in the continent at 55,926, and recoveries in Africa this morning is at 1,382,401. The global cases right now have topped 60,720,993. And the global death is at 1,426,841, and recoveries is at 42,032,104. And of course, these figures are subject to change because different countries keep updating their latest figures there. So that is where we stand this morning. And as we wait for our panelists to join, we'll just get into the headlines this morning, as usually we do here. We look at the three leading newspapers, and we start with the Daily Nation this morning. I will skip the BBI part of what happened yesterday, because that will be part of our conversation at 11 a.m. where we shall be looking at the BBI. It's all systems go for the constitutional amendments, and we shall see what's really happening there. And that launch of signature collection yesterday by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his handshake partner Raila Odinga. And of course, Deputy President was missing in action. And I'm seeing here signs of the times. Was it a Ruto no show? They're putting it at the Ruto no show in quotes, or Ruto no invite for KICC extravaganza. So I'll not really get into that so much. We shall look at that at 11 a.m. So I'll just look at the rest of the stories there and on the front pages there. We start with a sad news yesterday. I mean, who does not know Diego Maradona? He passed on yesterday at the age of 60. Hand of God. Maradona dead at 60. The story is on page 54 and 55, where the Daily Nation has done a tributary for Diego Maradona and tributes pour in for Argentinian football legend Diego Maradona, who inspired a generation of footballers around the world in his heyday before drug abuse dimmed his star in retirement. And the drug abuse, that is something he's been battling. A lot of news in the recent times really that captured that struggle he has been having with drugs. And so he died yesterday, and of course Twitter and the world over was awash with messages of condolences. And so we as well pass our condolences to the people of Argentina, and of course to the football world, and as well as his family. All right, thank you so much. So before we even continue further, I'm joined by Douglas Bundi Kirimi from Meru. Douglas, good morning. Douglas still is working on his signal there, but he shall be with us when he's able to.
Good morning, Miriam.
Oh, you can hear me now. How are you today?
How are you?
I'm very well. I don't know if you were a football fan, and have you been affected by the death of Diego Maradona?
You know, when Diego Maradona became a legend in 1986, I wasn't born. But later on, when Diego Maradona became the coach of Argentina and all that, when now people talk about him and all that, when I was growing up, I would hear that, and when he became a coach for the Argentina national team, would see him on TV. And I'm sorry to the football fraternity. I stopped watching football a long time ago.
Why?
And Diego was a legend.
Yes.
And we pray that God will repose his soul in eternal peace.
All right, very well. I know a lot of young people right now really cannot relate, but his name is still synonymous when you mention football and the legends in the world of football. 1986, you're not born. See? Douglas, you need to respect your elders. All right. All right. I don't want us to go into the BBI because we shall be looking that at 11. I know it's inevitable because it's on all the leading newspapers. Let me see. It's what is making the headlines there, but I think there also are stories that we can look at, and so we shall look at that at 11. So I don't want us to spoil the broth yet. And so let's look at what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday. Uhuru's fury, Kinoti under fire for reviving poll cases. That is on page 6. And you know, we've been talking about this story. Yesterday we looked at it in length. So let's see what's really happening there. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has rebuked the Directorate of Criminal Investigations over the plan to revive criminal cases related to the 2007-2008 post-election violence, warning that the move is a recipe for chaos. And so in a veiled dig at DCI boss George Kinoti, the president said the events of 2007-2008 are sensitive and he would not support any scheme to reopen the wounds of one of the darkest periods of Kenya's politics. And I would understand where President Uhuru Kenyatta is coming with this. And of course, it's very sensitive. And this is one of the darkest periods we've had in this country, no doubt. Two things I was able to gather from President Uhuru Kenyatta from that speech and that rebuke from President Uhuru Kenyatta. One, the DCI is independent because we've seen a lot of politicians accusing him of being used by the government. So you could tell President Uhuru Kenyatta was not even aware that the DCI had gone ahead and these Kenyans had gone to report and write their whatever it is. You remember the Kenyans that went to the DCI and they are receiving new threats. Some of them from who suffered from the 2007-2008 post-election violence, and right now they're saying there has been a renewed threat for their lives, and so that's why they went to the DCI to record some of these statements and to just raise their concerns there. And so President Uhuru Kenyatta seems not to have been aware that was happening. That is because the DCI is an independent institution, contrary to what perhaps we've been seeing. And you could tell from President Kenyatta and his speech yesterday, he did not like it at all. Douglas.
Miriam, the DCI is an independent institution, and from President Uhuru Kenyatta perspective yesterday, that was a very political statement. The president every president, when they are done with their speech, what they do what are called off-cuts. That was an off-cut. Again, Mr. President Uhuru Kenyatta is one man that would want justice be done to the people that lost their properties, to their people that are being threatened today. You know, there's something I want you to see. There was a day a man tried to jump over the State House fence.
I remember.
You know, Uhuru is very compassionate. He would have said, bring the boy here so that we can listen to him. But he let the justice system deal with him, or the police service deal with him, and also released the boy and later on and all that. Now, the president yesterday went to a function that is totally different from what the DCI did the other day. I asked a question on the show the other day, what would happen if the DCI lets its rules and over 1,000 people are killed again? The president would say the DCI is not working. But now the president had to make a political statement that he made yesterday. So president is not involved in anything that happens at the DCI. And the DCI is not shocked because politicians, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, have distanced themselves from what he is doing. He is not trying to revive the ghost of 2007. What the DCI is saying is that people should be brought to justice.
And also, I think from whatever the DCI was saying during that press conference and some remarks, some clarifications that he made a day later, is that some of these people, or majority of these people who came to record those statements, they are receiving new threats, not just what happened in 2007, 2008, but they are seeing, they're receiving and they're experiencing and they're feeling unsafe again right now. Forget what happened then, but they're seeing another pattern and they're worried, and that's why they went to say, perhaps we need this addressed.
Yes, Miriam, I want you to see something. I want to see a pattern from the executive president of the Republic of Kenya and the president who is a politician. The president one day would have a tough with the judiciary, but we have never seen the president take his phone live on TV or hear a rumor that the president has rescued a corrupt bureaucrat in government from being prosecuted at the anti-corruption court. What people didn't understand yesterday, people are celebrating. I like when people celebrate when President Uhuru Kenyatta talk. People are celebrating, but Uhuru Kenyatta is not going to stop the DCI from prosecuting those people that are issuing new threats. The president of the Republic of Kenya and the president who spoke yesterday are two different people. That was the politician speaking. He was speaking to preach some quotas because everyone thinks that they are rattled by that, and the president had to calm them down. But now that does not stop the DCI. You will see those people being arrested and those people being prosecuted. Because, Miriam, I want to make my point very clear. The president couldn't want violence in this country, yes? And one of the ways of stopping violence in this country is also letting independent institutions like DCI work and also deter, disrupt, and also stop crime or violence from happening in this country. So I think the president was right to say what he said yesterday. And I think the DCI was also right to go ahead and take statements from people that were being issued with fresh threats. Now remember, Miriam, this coming week or next week, you'll never hear anyone being threatened by any post-elections violence in 2022 again. Because the DCI has deterred. One of the mandate of the DCI is to deter a crime from happening.
And to be proactive. All right. Thank you, Douglas. We are joined by Javan Karanja. Javan, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to Kiremi. And good morning to our viewers, wherever they are watching this TV from. It's a very good morning here from Nanyuki. It's a bit sunny today. Yeah, thank you.
It's a very beautiful morning here in Nairobi, very sunny, the kind of weather that I truly, truly love. It's very good. So now, this is what President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday said, Javan. Those trying to open up the graves must be warned. What they're doing is not a joke, the president said when he presided over the launch for the collection of the signatures required for the referendum planned for June next year. Mr. Kinoti triggered a political storm on Monday when he announced that the agency had decided to reopen investigations to the 2007-2008 post-election violence that left more than 1,100 people dead following the highly disputed presidential election. 1,100 people died during that time, and maybe others are not even accounted for. So President Uhuru Kenyatta went ahead and said, we cannot reopen these wounds. So that means we still have a wound.
Yeah, Miriam,
Still have a
one
wound.
thing. Yeah, thank you. Excuse me, Anna. One thing that we must agree, Miriam, is that people didn't heal because this process didn't bring the justice that could have eliminated or have culminated into a healing process that could have sorted everything else. But Miriam, we also know, Miriam, even when you have a wound in your body, you are left with a scar, and that scar acts as a remembrance. When you look at it, you remember what exactly happened. Therefore, Miriam, these are memories that we cannot fade. These are memories that cannot fade just within a decade or 2 decades, but maybe after a period of time. But the funny thing is, people will still read these things in history, in books, and so on. Therefore, these are part of our vast history that is in the past. But Miriam, the woods are still there, because even the scars, Miriam, they don't heal completely. And therefore, what the president was trying to say, I don't feel like he was addressing the DCI directly, his message was categorically to cut across the political arena, so that everybody else who thinks that the president was not aware of exactly what is happening, now they know the president knows what the DCI is doing, and he is warning those people, Miriam, not only the DCI, who might think that he can go back to reopen maybe closed cases, but the DCI has detained himself from there, and he has said he is working on the new threats. But this message was categorically for the politicians who might think that they might use what the DCI is doing now to reopen or to revive some political kind of aminosity. I think that is where the president message was heading. And Miriam, you could see, even the politicians themselves yesterday, they didn't say a word. I expected the people from the Tanga or those people who have been saying that the deputy president is the one who is being targeted by the DCI to come out and say or support what the president was saying. But contrary to that, they left that to their bloggers, because they know if they do that, they would be contradicting what their boss is saying. Therefore, Miriam, that message cuts across not only into the political arena, but for anybody else who might think he might use 207 to revive some other aminosities amongst our communities. Thank you.
So President Uhuru Kenyatta, he's quoted here, he said, tumetoka huko na mambo haya tumezika katika kaburi la sahau. Translated, we have already moved on and buried the hatchet, the president said. And as if to directly address Mr. Kinoti, the president said, if you have decided to reopen the investigations, you don't know the kind of problem you're getting this country into. And I'm just wondering, and I think we've talked about that since this story first came out, and since I think because ICC also the case that is going there. So we've been having this conversation, and I know President Uhuru Kenyatta and his handshake partner and other politicians of goodwill who have joined them in this mission of having a united Kenya. They're trying to work out modalities on how we can achieve that unity, cohesion, forgiveness and healing for our country, so that we're truly able to move forward. But if ilizikwa katika kaburi la sahau, and yet we still have a lot of wounded people walking around here, people who have wounds in their hearts, people who have wounds, physically, they have the scars from what happened across the country. We're not just looking at a particular place, we're looking at across the country, and they're just sitting there hoping that one day justice will be served. At least you cannot repair a life that has been lost, but at least there are people who are still waiting for an action that will enable their closure. At least maybe some of the people who perpetrated these heinous acts will come out and maybe even apologize, or any sort of anything that will relieve the pain and the suffering and all that, and all those things that have been happening and that happened that time. And they hear the president said, imezikwa katika kaburi la sahau. I'm sure this is a very sensitive issue, and we would like to completely run away from it. Myself, I feel very uncomfortable talking about it. But unfortunately, running away from it or burying it will not have solved some of these things and burdens people still walk around with, and hoping that somehow somebody will even come and just apologize. Somehow I can be able to go back to my house where I was removed from, I can be able to go back and start rebuilding my life. Not even if nobody goes to jail or whatever, but some form of closure. So what do you think for anybody who had this and had hopes of perhaps finding justice in whatever form? What do you think, regardless of whatever President Uhuru Kenyatta meant, what do you think that will mean to them, Douglas?
You see, Miriam, I thank God that Javan has come out with a point that I was trying to put across when we were opening the show. Javan has put it very clearly. What the president was trying to do was to deter the conversation around,
or the politics
the politicians
that was beginning to play around this matter. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Bless you.
Yes, sorry.
Bless you. All right. It's okay. Go ahead.
The president was trying to deter the conversation that the politicians had hijacked around that. One thing the president is not willing to do, or anyone else. Sorry.
All right. Maybe take a break, and then when you're ready, are you able to speak now?
Yes.
Get a glass of water. Are you fine? Okay. Let Douglas take a glass of water there. Perhaps Javan, you could respond to that.
Miriam.
Yes.
What exactly was the question, Miriam?
All right, so the question was, President Uhuru Kenyatta here said, tumetoka huko na mambo haya tumezika katika kaburi la sahau. We have already moved on and buried the hatchet. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are not feeling the same way. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are affected, who are not in that line of thought, and somehow they're hoping that one day justice in any form might be handed to them, whether it's in a form of apology, whether it's a form of somebody will come and confess. And there's several things. It does not mean people will go to jail, but there's several things where it can be done. Other forms of can be done so that we are able to truly have this conversation, which I know we run away from. But running away from it, and I don't want to say pretending that we've forgotten, because I'm sure the people who are affected have not really forgotten, and a lot of us who are not even directly affected, this is something we cannot forget as a country. So for somebody who's been waiting for that apology, who's been waiting to be reassured things are okay and you can go back to your home, and as I said there earlier, it's not just one part of the country that we're looking at. These things happened across, even in the coast region, all over the place in the country. But of course, there were specific hotspots. So for that person who's waiting for any form of justice to be given, and the president said, no, these things, we have buried them. How do you think they received that message?
Miriam, before I even mention what the president was saying yesterday, Miriam, something that we must learn to do as a country is to have trust in our independent institution. Because, Miriam, in the Constitution, the office of those independent commissioners and offices that we have, they are supposed to work independently without any interference from the executive, legislative arm of the government, or from any other quarter in the government. Therefore, Miriam, for me, I feel like what the DCI is doing, and the DPP and all other these independent offices, they are doing it quite independently. And I feel like the DCI should continue doing what he is doing, because at the end of the day, Miriam, President will not want any kind of violence to occur in future, and that he has said it categorically, that hakutamwagika damu mwingine kwa sababu ya siasa in this country. Therefore, that message is quite clear, and I feel like the DCI should continue doing his work without any interference. And coming to what the president was saying yesterday, Miriam, yes, we have come a long way since the 2007 or since 1992 or any other kind of violence that we have. Therefore, these are decades. We are talking of a decade and almost a half. Therefore, that was almost 15 years. And to be precise, it's 13 years since 2007. Therefore, Miriam, a baby who was born in 2007, December, he is turning 13 years in this December. Therefore, that in any scenario, he is in class 8. He is a candidate expecting to sit for his examinations of a national examination for class 8. Therefore, these are people who are almost grown. They are teenagers. Therefore, Miriam, what we are saying, at the end of the day, Miriam, it's no matter how long it will take, justice will be delivered to these people. And Miriam, these people, some of them have started healing. But what we want somebody to learn a lesson so that he will deter himself and his cronies from even undertaking that route even in future. Therefore, the point here, Miriam, these people who suffered in 2007, I remember some of them were given land, the IDPs, some were given land. When you go to some place in Laikipia, you'll find that they have a very big, huge tract of land where the last government of President Kibaki, they were given land. Others, these people have been, the government has tried to settle these people. Therefore, to some extent, they have feeling that something was done. Miriam, what we need to see is somebody to be remorseful. Those people who did those wrongs, to come and say, yes, this thing occurred, and what we are giving Kenyans is an assurance that things will not occur again. Miriam, I know somebody whose property was destroyed in 2007, and because now he is in these counties of Mount Kenya, he says that even if he is given that opportunity to go back to his original land in Eldoret, he will not go, because the kind of memories that he have, the kind of things that he saw there, he is not even willing to go back there. Therefore, this person, what he needs a kind of a compensation where he can go maybe and buy a new land in another place, and he resettles afresh. Therefore, it is not a matter of going back to where these people are, but is to see something small being done so that they try and feel like they are part and parcel of this country. And the government is trying to do that. Therefore, Miriam, to some extent, I agree with the president. We don't want to go back to start fresh trials to 2007. We need now to work from past and to learn to the future, so that people who are maybe threatening others, those are the people who should be dealt with, because, Miriam, the past is gone, but the future is coming. Therefore, we must make the future better for our generations and the generation to come, because the past, we cannot delete it. It is there. And Miriam, president is clear, but his message was not to DCI, it was to cut across every individual in this country who feels like violence is the only way to get to positions of power.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. And there's a place to sit. Yes, go ahead. Oh, you're back. Go ahead.
Noise in the future. But they came that day and everyone was making press statements from parliament, from everywhere. So what the president had to do is to stop this kind of shenanigans. And they stopped. But now the thing is, new threats have come. Over 1,000 people died in 2008 post-elections violence. The president cannot be able to stop the DCI from deterring crime, which is a core mandate of their training. The DCI cannot be stopped from taking statements from people who have received new threats. I gave an example yesterday where people would take property belonging to my father. But now it is now in our hands. Nobody can take that property again. When they take it again, we can also now open up a new case on them. But now the thing is the president really saying that these people should not report their new threats? Is the president saying that these people, when they are threatened with post-elections violence like 2008, they should not tell any police officer, they should wait for them to die? No, definitely no. The president is categorical. He didn't say he has stopped the DCI cannot. You know, the president can address you directly on live media. He didn't say he has stopped the DCI from taking any statement or new threat statement from these victims. Remember, Miriam, this thing is very traumatizing. These people suffered in 2008. And since then, for 13 years, these people have never been able to find closure. And you can't threaten the same people again. And then the president of the Republic of Kenya says that he doesn't want any statements taken because he wants people to forget and forgive. No, the president didn't want the politicians taking advantage of that and taking us back to where we are coming from. The president didn't want the people who would take advantage of the violence and also write on it as regional leaders, regional defenders of their communities to go forward. What the president said is that these people should find closure, and taking their cases to the DCI and anywhere they can take them, and like their police stations and all that, does not mean the DCI is opening those cases. And the DCI was very clear. He is dealing with new threats. So the president cannot just wake up and interfere with an independent institution. The president was addressing the political class. Because every one of those politicians who went on TV, they were saying, I am the target. I am the target. Why are you the target when the people of Kenya have reported new threats on their lives? So, Miriam, we need to separate the president from the statement of taking people forward and also telling them to forgive and forget when new threats have occurred to their lives. So I also tend to believe, as a peace-loving man, Mr. President Uhuru Kenyatta cannot and will not be able to subvert justice for the people of Kenya. Remember, Miriam, these are new Kenyans, these are new threats on Kenyans who have experienced the same fate in 13 years, in a period of 13 years ago. The same people have received new threats. What happens next? It is the DCI to move forward and also prosecute those people, which was very separate from the president's speech. Now we can also wait for another statement that addresses the DCI directly and tells him off, like, stop what you are doing. I don't want you to take statements from the victims of that. And remember, we are a sovereign state. The president wouldn't want threats to our lives, threats to our property, to our own lives, and also for our land. That's why he is the president. So, Miriam, I join Karanja and also join my other statement that the DCI is an independent institution. Those people that are receiving new threat, they can also as well continue going to the DCI and taking those statements there, because we are good when they are alive. We are good when their lives and property is safe, rather than when they are dead. Because we cannot trust that these people are not going to be threatened, because in 13 years, when this thing happened in 2008, these people, their lives and properties were threatened. Some took others' lands, properties, and everything. There are people who are milking cows in Uasin-Gishu, which belong to people 13 years ago. There are people sitting on land in Uasin-Gishu that people were threatened and run away. It is a fact. Karanja just said their neighbor in Nanyuki has refused to go to Eldoret. Why? Because these people needs to be able to get to a point where they find closure. And one way of finding closure is also seeking justice. So we cannot stop these people from seeking justice, and that is not the position of President Uhuru Kenyatta. We can analyze it from every point of view, Miriam, as I conclude, but the president did not say, don't go to DCI or any police station and report any new threat on your life.
All right.
Right to life and to own property is your own right as an individual. It is in the constitution, actually. You should not take any other people's life. So the president is the president of the Republic of Kenya. And what he said, he addressed the political class who are talking about being targets. And they don't live in Uasin-Gishu, they live in Karen.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much there. I don't know, moving forward before we get into looking at the infrastructure and what President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy has done in regards to that. Moving forward, when it comes to a sensitive matter like what we're talking about now, how would you advise our political class, our political leaders, when they're coming out to talk about these matters and responding to some of these stories out in public? I had President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday say, you have to think before you talk. Engage your logic and critical thinking first before you open your mouth. I think it's very important because this is a very sensitive matter. So moving forward, how would you advise our political class? Because for me, when this story came out and these witnesses went to the DCI and recorded new statements of new threats over their lives and others from the other time of 2007, 2008 post-election violence, what I would have expected any leader who means well for this country is to come out and say, oh, some Kenyans are not feeling safe being where they are. Some Kenyans are feeling their lives are threatened being where they are. So what can I do to assure them that they will be okay? How can I engage? How can I find out what is the problem and perhaps find a possible solution? How can we engage the community around there? What measures can be put in place? What awareness can we create? What efforts can we, so that they don't have to feel like that. Instead, we saw whatever we saw. And so how would you, advise our political class moving forward and how to be handling these matters without necessarily adding more fuel to the fire? We start with Jevan, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. And that is a very good question, especially at this time. one thing that I expect our politicians to do is to deter themselves from using inflammatory statements that might incite Kenyans towards and fighting other communities around them. And Miriam, you know, these people, they don't do it willingly. These people are incited. Miriam, you know, in politics, some people takes politics too close to their heart, to a point when you trigger just a slight emotion, they overreact, they become violently, and they can do all manner of things in the name of protecting the political kingpin or political god. Therefore, that's something of incitement. I think that is something that our politicians must avoid. And by doing that, they should avoid incitements and hate mongering, and instead be ambassadors of peace. That is the solution. You avoid incitements and hate mongering, then you become an ambassador of peace. You start preaching peace, unity, cohesion, harmonious relationship among the community around you. That is the only and the sure way to have a great nation and a kind of a symbiosis kind of a relationship where people will benefit from each other, Miriam, because at the end of the day, when these communities come together, there are those who are pastoralists, there are those who are farmers, there are the business people, there are those who are in the political arena, they are the religious leaders and so on. When these people come together, they will start now having that kind of a mutual relationship when they can benefit each other by selling goods and commodities around them, among themselves. Therefore, that thing of politicians be preaching peace, I think that is something that is quite essential in ensuring that we have a peaceful coexistence. And number two, they should also among themselves create an atmosphere, even among the political class, to avoid showing a picture that they are not in good terms. Because Miriam, they might not incite, but when a politician from maybe North Rift and another politician from Western Kenya, they behave as if they are not in good terms. What they do, their people reads a lot from the body language of a politician. Therefore, they should also make sure that they are in good terms, even with their political class, and to avoid, they are in good terms, Miriam. These people, they are in good, but what they do, they try creating some analogies and pictures in the public that we are not together, or these people are not our friends, and so on. Therefore, that is the only sure way to have a prosperous nation. Mm-hmm. And number two, the people and the Kenyans should avoid being used by politicians for their own political interest. Instead, Miriam, we should make our interest as people and as voters to be our first priority. We should be voting emotionally because of our needs, not because of the needs of our politicians. And by doing so, we'll be even able to get good leaders, men of integrity, because Miriam, now we'll start looking of leaders of what they're offering on the table, rather than what tribe they come from, which region they come from. I think that is something that is quite good, because when these politicians will realize that the Wanjikus, as they call them, nowadays they are being called Wagio, it is all the same meaning.
Is it? I've never heard of that.
When they will realize that.
Can you say that again?
It
came from Wanjiku to what?
There was Wanjiko.
Yes.
And now they are coming with another one calling Wagio. This Wagio is from Hustlers. It means that somebody who is struggling in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with hustlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we saw the definition of hustlers in the dictionary, so let's just leave that. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, let me use this Wanjiku because it's the one that is quite acceptable across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. When these Wanjikus the politician will understand that the subjects or the servants who they are supposed to serve have waken up from the sleep, and they will no longer divide themselves along tribal lines. I'm telling you, Miriam, these politicians will style up, they will deter from political rhetoric, and they will start selling manifestos. Therefore, we, is a wholesome process, the politicians and the people and everyone else, Miriam, let us work in unity to ensure that this country stands, and we cultivate, Miriam, a culture of patriotism, because that is the only way, Miriam, will be able to protect our country. Mm-hmm. Because if we are patriotic, our politicians are patriotic to our country, everything else will stabilize. Mm-hmm. That is my take, Miriam. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you. Douglas, how would you advise our politicians when coming out and responding or talking about or, giving their thoughts of such a sensitive matter like the post-election violence and what happened there, how next time, instead of coming out and giving us all those political theatrics, how would we, advise them to handle
Miriam,
this matter in
as a
public?
student of
Especially
history, I have studied the methods that politicians use to get to power. And mostly, there are politicians from this central Kenya where we are who have made a career from insulting the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and inciting their people to violence and all that. Mostly, when you go on TV and also talk evil about people and also paint people in bad light and all that, and people vote for you, you have incited them to violence, except that it's violence that has occurred in their hearts and their minds. Remember, the worst form of violence is a violence that can be caused amongst people in their hearts and their minds before it is physical. People already have made a perspective on you. People already have taken a stand on what happens about a particular politician or a section of people. So that kind of violence that people go and preach, violence in road shows, in local TV stations and radio stations, is the worst form of violence that can happen to our people. One of the things that politicians have been able to ride on is being tribal roads of war and all that, and also causing their people to go forward and fight and all that. One of the things that we would ask for a new Kenya to emerge is that politicians should desist from urging their people to violence. Remember, in 2017 we had elections, 2018 we had an handshake, 2018, 2019, 2020. We are not hearing communities warring in Eldoret, in Meru, in any particular part of this country. Why is it that they fight during elections only, the first 3-4 weeks of the elections or before? Why do we hear threats come when elections near? The politicians are planting scenes of discord among our people, which is not the right thing to do. For example, today in some part of this country, you can go and do your business peacefully without being interfered with by anyone.
Until 2022.
So what our politicians have done, they have gone ahead and now started saying, when that time comes, we shall be peaceful. We don't want to fight. Who mentioned violence in the first place? It is them that are telling people it is possible. If things don't go our way, we can be able to fight. So politicians should desist from planting scenes of discord in their people and start selling the manifestos, like Javan was saying, and start telling their people what they are going to do. If you are from central Kenya or any other part of this country, tell us what the government is doing that you are a part of, or what you are doing, or to talk to government and to bring development to the people. Don't make inflammatory statements and utterances that people have always used, especially the political class, to ride on to power. 2, tell the people the truth. The political class eat together, dine together, do business together. It is only we, the people, on the ground, we don't relate with the other because our local MP hates a particular clan. But when you investigate, you find that the same MP has married a Meru, has married a Ruo. But our local politician would just wake up in the morning and tell us what to do. Another thing, number 3, is that our politicians of the political class should stop commandeering their communities. You should stop talking in terms of community. For example, there is a politician from Meru who, when they are talking about their personal issues, they speak in terms of with the Meru community. We have not met anywhere and sent him. When someone talks somewhere else, they will say, on behalf of our community doesn't want this. And the community has not sent them. Though the Constitution says they are the representatives of the people. There is nowhere the Constitution says that these are the representatives of people when it comes to matters violence. Why are some people or some MPs in this country don't speak in parliament when their constituents are supposed to be represented, and they talk only when there is something to gain, especially on matters political violence and all that?
Who are you referring
We need to stop our leaders from...
Who are you referring to, Douglas, now? Who doesn't speak?
They are politicians, Miriam. It is in public domain who don't speak in parliament. They cannot speak on anything development.
Yes, have never even spoken.
It is in public domain, Miriam. But when it comes to matters, small petty issues, they will do press conferences and speak a lot of English. the same English that they can't speak in parliament, you know. But we need also to, as voters, to desist from listening to our politicians when it comes to the wrong things. For example, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been doing a lot of infrastructural projects across the nation. Kenya is under construction literally everywhere, including here in Meru.
Oh.
Roads are being made.
Tell us about Meru.
Is done.
Yes. Tell us about that, because we were just getting into that. We were looking at
yes.
Yes. So
the railway is being revived for the first time, Miriam. I can take a train to Kisumu. For the first time, Miriam, I can promise someone a trip to Mombasa and take them easily. With 1,000 bob or 2,000 bob, I can take them to Mombasa with an SGR, with views of world drive and all that. For the first time, Miriam, there is an international airport in Isiolo. That means we, the people of Meru, can be able to take and transport our green gold from Isiolo to other international markets. And we are so happy and thankful to President Uhuru Kenyatta. The road network is under construction in this country. Miriam, our politicians should be doing this instead of yapping and talking about 2022, which we don't know that we may come to that point. Instead of talking about a future election, they can talk about what the president is doing. If the president is not putting your constituency under construction, call him, talk to the Minister for Infrastructure. Because literally, Miriam, I'm so happy that this country is under construction. We've seen roads being done. We've seen stadiums in Tharaka-Nithi. We've seen stadium. I think you have seen the stadium in Kenoru, the way President Uhuru Kenyatta has injected money in Kenoru Stadium. Kenoru Stadium today is under international standards. We can do anything we want there. Kenya is under construction, our constituency is under construction, our county is under construction. And Miriam, if you have not come to Meru, I'm sorry, the town is rich, the streets are done, the street writing is done, and that is what our politicians should be doing. Every town has received a new lease of life. Street writing has been done by the president. The town has been tarmacked everywhere, including Tharaka-Nithi. I can speak for Tharaka-Nithi. I have some business interest there. People are literally swimming under construction. Kenya is swimming under construction. And what our leaders can only afford is to accuse President Kenyatta of not working. For example, in Meru, I can ask politicians shortly, what has the president not done? He may not have done one or two roads, but he is the president who has built the biggest road network since he came to power. He is the most historical president that we shall remember for putting Kenya under construction. I think he has built about 7,000 kilometers of roads since he came to power. And we are so grateful. And this is what politicians should be focusing on. Things that matter to a person in Meru, to a person in Laikipia, and to a person in Bondo.
Even to a person in Nairobi. I mean, there are people in Nairobi here who still want the street lights on, who wants the inroads in their estates fixed, who want to have regular water in their pipes. So even in Nairobi, there are people who still need certain services. And I think for the people of Nairobi, you don't even care who does what. As long as it's done, we're okay. But
the president brought NMS, and NMS is fixing the mess in Nairobi.
Yes. Like we don't even...
And we have seen, for the first time, we have seen tarmac roads in slums and all that. We've seen Nairobi being transformed into the city that it is supposed to be. So Miriam, I submit, and the last thing that I would advise our politicians is that they should stop using people as collateral damage or collateral when they are negotiating for their political deals. For example, we cannot have someone from Meru like Douglas negotiating on the behalf of the Meru community, and he lives in Karen or Runda or Ravington. They will eat for and on behalf of the people. Our politicians should stop and desist from negotiating for and behalf of the people for their own benefit.
Okay, that's
I saw a conversation somewhere before I conclude where people were asking a question: can we hold this activist to account? We had that conversation on Zimbabwe and around the world. Can we be able to hold activists to account? The same activists that will come asking for support from us, and the next minute this is the same people would now come and get to bed with whatever powers be, and then the next thing we see, they are no longer protesting for poor roads, co-project and all that. They will take bags and retreat to their suburbs. Can we be able to hold them to account? Let us hold our leaders to account.
All right,
because our leaders are misusing us.
Very well. And I'm sure a lot of Kenyans, especially the young Kenyans out there all over the country, will agree with that. And yeah, collateral damage. Quite unfortunate. Tankoi Adam, nice to see you this morning. You're saying good morning. I don't know whether in this era we still have people threatening others on issue of violence after election. Kenyans live in peace. We people in villages love one another, and the issue of DCI is political motivated, and therefore would like to thank President for telling him off. If you can compare the DCI address and the subsequent letter he sent to the media, anyone can see that they were different. The address was political, and I think President did good job yesterday to tell him to think before speaking. All right, because we saw that press conference on Monday, and then the subsequent letter that the media communication that he released to the media there, that had a different tone. I agree with you on that part. All right, thank you. Thank you for watching this morning. Javan, from where you are, what has President Uhuru Kenyatta been able to do in terms of infrastructure?
Miriam, in terms of infrastructure, let me say that President Uhuru Kenyatta stands as the best in the past regimes to have done the biggest road network in this country. Not only the road networks, but also the reviving of the old railway lines, the meter gauge railway, the standard gauge railway, and we have the airports, as Douglas was talking about. And Miriam, let me start with roads, because that is something that is quite, and everybody can attest to that. Miriam, I would like to in Nyeri, Kieni constituency, Odhaya, when you go all these places, you'll see new projects, roads, especially roads. And this is through the national government. And this is to show that the president has really done great. And Miriam, sometimes I tend to ask the same question that Douglas was trying to ask. Those people who say the president has not done anything, what is this that president promised that he is not delivering? You know, they should be telling us, president promised a road in a place, a specific place, but he is not delivering that road. That is why we say the president has not delivered. But these people, they are just saying it for the sake of time, and for the sake of where their political inclinations, where their emotions are. And number two, Miriam, we have the renovated meter gauge railway all the way from Nairobi to Nanyuki. And Miriam, in near future, it is heading to Meru. Therefore, Miriam, it will be quite effective even for the transportation of goods and products that our people produce, like the horticulture products. When you come to these areas, we have a lot of onions, tomatoes, and so on. Therefore, it will be quite, and these goods are quite perishable. Therefore, with this kind of trains, you'll be able to take them to markets in time, and that will be able even to maximize on your profit. And Miriam, on to that matter of markets, Miriam, I feel like the president has done the largest numbers of markets in this country. Like when you go to Karatina, we have the biggest, I think it is the biggest in this region, the Karatina market. You come to Shaka, here Shaka we have, when you go, you come from Nairobi, you come all the way to a place called past Nyeri, you come to Shaka. Then there's another big market, a big market of all produce, especially the farm produce in this region. And Miriam, I can tell you, people are coming as far as Mombasa to this market to fetch fresh produce, because this place is near these areas called Kieni and so on, and they produce the best onions and tomatoes and so on in this area. Therefore, now the distance and the struggle of taking this produce to Nairobi, now they take it to Shaka, which is near to them. Therefore, the cost of transportation is cheap, and that is how the government empowers its people. And those people who come as far as from Mombasa, some of them will use even the standard, the SGR. Therefore, this kind is creating employment in a way that Kenyans are not seeing, but at the fullness of time, Kenyans will realize what these agendas of President Uhuru means to people. Because Miriam, when you have good roads, you have good markets, and we are not talking of any other market. We are talking of modern market where you have the refrigeration process, where you can go and store your goods there for a period of 2 weeks, and they don't go stale. Therefore, this kind of infrastructural development, that is what is making this country, will make this country develop. This is what will elevate our Kenyans from poverty. Because Miriam, when you empower farmers, And Miriam, the president is doing a lot in food security, and he is also ensuring that farmers are getting quite incentives that will ensure them even be able to make good profits, low cost of fertilizers and farm inputs. Therefore, at the end of the day, these people will be able to have a job and to create employment to other people. And Miriam, finally, Douglas have talked of the airport in Isiolo. Miriam, that airport, it will not only serve the people from northeastern counties, but also the areas of Meru, the south Mount Kenya counties. You come to Laikipia counties, because Miriam, when you these counties which are surrounding the Isiolo county, and this stadium airport will serve and create employment to a majority of people. And Miriam, you know, when you have an airport near you, something else that revamps is the road network. Therefore, at the end of the day, the roads network to various hotels, to various places of meeting and conferences. This is what there will be a lot of road under construction in that area, and it will come as far as Laikipia County in Nanyuki. Yeah?
Yes, you're saying that with a good with an airport in an area, that will attract good road networks, and also that will attract other businesses like hotels and motels and all that. Other businesses will be attracted towards that place because of the development of infrastructure.
Yeah, Miriam, even a person who have not been into Isiolo for a period of 5 years, when you go to that place nowadays, and Kikeremi will tell you, because he is near that place, that town has already grown. The population, the people, even people are moving as far as Muranga to come and invest in Isiolo. Therefore, at the end of the day, these counties have been called the marginalized counties. Now, in 10 years' time to come, these counties will be competing with the Kiambu County in matters of GDP and so on. And that is the kind of development that we want. Miriam, finally, is electricity connectivity. This is something that we cannot go without mentioning. Go around this country, Miriam, even where you come from. People, electricity is even getting to the smallest unit. Where farms, where we have nobody occupying those lands, and Miriam, in this area, they built some small structures where you just have the cables and so on, and you go to Nairobi and you leave that thing there, so that when you come there in future, you don't have to struggle. You just come and connect and have your house electricity. That is something that is quite doing well, because even in terms of education, those are kids from the rural areas. They were quite disadvantaged in matters of revising and so on. Now they can revise without using the kerosene lamp that was quite not effective, because at the end of the day, the parent might not have the money to buy the kerosene and so on. Now, when you have this electricity, the kids can be able even to revise at night, early in the morning, and this is even bringing equality in matters of even in studying and so on, and even in our hospitals.
Yes.
Instead of using generators in our local dispensaries, they have the electricity, which is quite reliable and effective. Therefore, even in terms of medicine storage and so on, is coming to reality, and people are getting good services, and even the growth of employment, the cybers, the hotels, and the ICT sector. These are some of things that will ensure that we have a greater country, and towards even achieving the Vision 2030.
Very well. And absolutely, and I agree with all that you've said, especially electricity. I know in my village, a lot of people have benefited for the last couple of years, and after the last mile that was introduced by a Jubilee government in its first term, I've seen in my own village a lot of schools now have even started boarding facilities so that children are able to study effectively. As Jevan has mentioned there, some students used to suffer a lot. You'll go home with the homework, you can't do it because your parents cannot afford the paraffin for the lamps and all that. So you find that you meet them very early in the morning going to school with their books, so that they're able to do their homework either outside before the sun goes down, or very early in the morning before the teacher comes in school. But right now, we've seen that is not a problem. So that has really went to create an enabling environment where these children can study, can do their homework, can stay late in school, do their homework for those who are day scholars. And I've seen a lot of schools trying to build boarding facilities so that these children can stay in school and be able to study and compete on a level ground with the rest of the country because of the availability of electricity, and that is very important. And I know it was the Jubilee's government intention that every school in this country be connected. I'm sure not all of them have, so I'm hoping that even the rest that are remaining, President Uhuru Kenyatta, before you complete your term, please, let's find those schools, let's find those children still somewhere down there at the coast, somewhere down there in Matsanga, somewhere down there in Turkana, and let's make sure that they're able to be afforded this, because with electricity, because even one of the key promises that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, they made when they're coming in the first time, you remember the laptop projects, all right, that the trial happened, and then of course it did not able to take off the way they had anticipated it would. But there was going to be a challenge because of lack of electricity. So I think they must have identified that and decided, you know what, let's first fix the infrastructure, ensure that all these schools are connected, and then perhaps the laptops or the incoming governments next time can think about that. But I think the electricity have gone a long way in ensuring our children stay in school and they're able to read without worrying about the lack of power or paraffin. All right, thank you so much. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has in the last few months ventured out of State House to inspect some of his legacy projects, catching contractors and state officers unawares as he adopts a new mode of working from Kisumu, Nairobi, and now Mombasa. We saw that in September, this president has kept contractors and civil servants on toes in an attempt to ensure the projects are completed before the end of his second term. The president in September inspected work on Dongo Kundu bypass projects before heading to Kwale, the site of the Vigurungani water project. And when he was there, he was accompanied by Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho, and President Kenyatta toured the 1.9 billion Likoni pedestrian floating bridge that is right now under construction. And I think that will go a long way in alleviating the problems that the people who use the Likoni channel experience sometimes, especially when the ferries break down. We know there's been a problem there. There are a few times we've had very bad accidents there happen. And so this will go a long way in helping the thousands who use that channel every day. And the 1.2 kilometer bridge, the first of its kind in Eastern Central Africa, is 51% complete. Mr. Kenyatta told, of course, the contractors when he went to that, and he did not announce that he was going there, to ensure the bridge is completed by November as agreed. So at the end of November, we need to go check if this guy, we need some report if at all this contractor, Madizana Nai bridge, floating bridge. We only saw that in London and other places, in San Francisco and other places in the world. But I will have it here. So I think that is, we are keeping up with the latest technology in matters infrastructure. I think that is a very exciting thing to note there. And also Mr. Kenyatta then boarded a Kenya Navy vessel when he was there in Liwatoni and headed to the new 40 billion Kenya shillings Kipevu oil terminal, which is 62% complete. And while on the visit, the president insisted on the work that being undertaken by China Communications Construction Company to be completed by July 2021. So aliwapatia deadlines, He gave the guys at the floating bridge until November, and these ones who were constructing the Kipevu oil terminal, they were given to July 2021 to complete. So when the president says, then you must really do that. So we shall be checking on these deadlines there and see if these people have been able to deliver. So of course the president has been criticized, especially with a lot of politicians, saying that he's trying to turn this country he's trying to militarize the country because of a couple of times we've seen him choose to work with some military generals there because the president has been frustrated when it comes to the delivery of his service. So he thought, you know what, maybe I just need to turn to the disciplined forces, and there I can get people who can work without questions, who can follow orders, and who can deliver, because President Uhuru Kenyatta is concerned with his delivery of all the promises that he made. Maybe not all, but at least majority, and especially in regards to his Big Four agenda before the end of his second term. So why President has chosen to work with the military, in case you're asking. So this is why, according to the President, the military worked with the National Youth Service at the Kenya Railways to rebuild the Thika Nanyuki meter gauge railway by restoring the deteriorated rail. And part of the reason for involving the military in the infrastructure projects, one, it is cost effective. And the involvement of KDF in infrastructure projects has saved the country billions of shillings. So that will make sense. Why would anybody complain about that, Douglas? Well, we are saving a lot of money.
Before I come to that, there is something that Karanja said that touches my soul, that touches my life. The development record of President Uhuru Kenyatta in our region. The Isiolo International Airport. Remember, this 90% of this airport is in Meru County. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has been able to do the Isiolo International Airport to the international standards that is supposed to be. And this is one airport that has transformed the rights. Remember, I have lived in almost all the towns near Meru, like Isiolo. I've lived there. My sister is married in Isiolo, so I've lived there. I have seen that place transform into a tourist town. And another thing that I have also seen, there's also a resort city coming up in Isiolo, and the prices of rent has gone so high. There's also a road that is done. I think it's Isiolo Modogash Road that cuts through the Isiolo barracks. That road has been that road has transformed Isiolo County, and there's nothing that the people of Kenya can do rather than be thankful to President Uhuru Kenyatta. The Kenoru Stadium, the Kirobia Stadium in Chuka, the Ruringo Stadium that I understand there was a problem with titles, but now it's being built. And these 2-3 stadiums, if they are set into the international standards, the Kirubia Stadium is historical because Tarakanidi had no such a facility. If, for example, we want to host regional football games, we can host them in Mount Kenya comfortably without relying on anything in Nairobi. And we're so grateful for that. And remember, the road network around those stadiums is also improved. Tharaka, for the first time, experienced road tarmac during the first term of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. I know that because I have a farm in that place. I know that because my father has a farm there and my mother has a farm in Tharaka. So the three of us have farms in different parts of Tharaka.
All right. So what you're saying is soon we shall be seeing Gor Mahia at AFC Leopards coming to play there.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Kenoru Stadium, I wish you can see those photos. I know you have seen them. You are a news anchor. You've seen those photos from Kenoru Stadium.
Wow.
The other day, I was in Meru and I went right inside the airport. You can't believe it. The thing that President Uhuru Kenyatta has done in Mount Kenya is unforgettable. Okay. The people of Tharaka will be very grateful because the road network is so clear.
Douglas, there was some leadership from the Mount Kenya region initially, sometimes back last year, who came out complaining that President Uhuru Kenyatta has neglected developmental agendas from that region. So maybe, is it true or things have changed now? Douglas.
Miriam.
Yes.
These politicians are part of the cartels that have been funded by some other quarters to discredit President Uhuru Kenyatta. You cannot take away the airport from the president. You cannot take the roads that he has done in Isiolo, in Meru, in Tharaka Nithi, in Laikipia. You cannot take away the Kirubia Stadium from President Uhuru Kenyatta. Yes, of course, the expectations from residents and also their leaders and all that. But remember, the president has put literally the whole of this country under construction. President Uhuru Kenyatta is not a president of Mount Kenya region alone. We can excuse the president for what is happening because some of these contracts that have been awarded have had their issues and all that. We can excuse him because he's the president of the whole of this region. Remember, at the same time, when the president is putting stadiums in Mount Kenya region, he's put a sports complex in Kisumu. He's built roads to connect Kisumu to Kakamega. He's built what is it called? Kudu what? Ndongo.
Yes, at the coast.
Yes.
Yes, he was there
yes.
in September to inspect that road. And I know.
And I saw that.
Yeah, I've been there.
I saw that people used to take hours before they could get that bypass that was built by President Uhuru Kenyatta. They could take hours in Mombasa and struggle so much. And we've seen the president do roads in Turkana. We've seen president do roads. There is also a road called the Mau Road in Kenya, in central Kenya. We've seen it over $1 billion shilling road that has been that is under construction today. We've seen now the president the other day they want to put up the Mau Summit Road. We have been able to benefit from President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration. And one thing that we need to be very clear on is that the president cannot do everything that we've asked him to do. There have been presidents before who have not done anything for our community and also the region and all that.
Okay.
Another thing on militarization of services in this country is that thing was very close to my heart. So Miriam, I'm sorry I had to say it because the stadiums are here and the airport is here, and the region is being transformed at a rate that I cannot be able to explain on live TV. People need to go and visit Isiolo. People need to come and visit Meru.
I will do that. I will find time and do that and come see those things for myself. But
I will ask my mother to send you some bananas.
Oh, that would be lovely. But on the issue of militarization,
yes.
Kenyatta has been accused.
The president has been very categorical. And remember, every person that the president has appointed and put them on board as maybe a chairman of some parastatal and all that, these people have come and stolen from Kenyans. For example, in Nairobi, we have seen the governor for Nairobi, Mike Sonko. He's been taken to court with a case that they want to do out of court bargain. Over 300 million. That man has swallowed over 300 million development money that's supposed to be Nairobi's Nairobi resident development funds. So the president came up with NMS and put it in charge of Nairobi. And we have seen the transformation that he has done in Nairobi. We need to do a survey in this country. If you ask people of Homa Bay if they want a corrupt governor, or they want a military general that will take orders directly from Uhuru Kenyatta and develop their praise, they will say they want a military general.
Any day.
Here in Meru, I'll be the first person to vote for a military general to take over if now my governor eats our resources.
Okay,
because this thing has transformed Kenya in ways that we cannot understand.
Yes.
Remember, in slums I couldn't walk before. I couldn't go to Mukuru. There are roads in Mukuru I can walk comfortably, then connect to the Raja Tamak and go. But we've not seen that before because the corruption cartels would want to go and do fair weather roads and all that and steal from the people.
Absolutely. And I have to cut you there because we have to take a break and then come back with the other show. You'll notice that I did not look at the BBI because that will form the part of our subject at 11. So that's why today we've not looked at that, but we'll come to discuss it. So I'd like Javan to just give his final comments on that. And even as he comes, the government, of course, is reviving the Nairobi-Nanyuki, which already has been revived, and that the rehabilitation of the Central Railway line is also a part of a bigger development strategy to link the hinterlands with the Lamu port and the southern Sudan-Ethiopia transport corridor. And of course, from what we know right now, President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration has built over 1,000 kilometers of tarmac roads every year, and this is 44 times more than what the colonial administration built and more than 4 times what the first 3 administrations built collectively per year. So all these things you're mentioning, when you put them into kilometers, that is how much President Uhuru Kenyatta has been able to do. And the thing with infrastructure, especially the roads, you cannot lie about it. You can go and see this road has been built, this has been done. So it's not something that is just wonderful on papers, but Kenyans can attest to that for those who've been able to get a chance to see some of these projects. So Javan, please end it for us. 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I agree that the President Uhuru legacy is quite secured and he has done a lot. And those people who say that the President has not done anything, especially from Mount Kenya region, Miriam, this is not all leaders from Mount Kenya region, but are the leaders who support the Deputy President. I would like to ask them one question. If they feel like the President have not done nothing, when the Deputy President is still the Deputy President of this country, how is he the solution to our problems? then if they are able to ask that question, then I can agree with them that the president has done nothing. And Miriam, there's something that I like saying. If we want to say the president has not done nothing, tell us even the deputy president has also failed. Because Miriam, for us, we say the Jubilee government and President Uhuru Kenyatta, and then the Jubilee government, William Ruto is still in the Jubilee government. Therefore, if you want to use the Jubilee scorecard as his campaign agenda, there's no problem, but he will also have to tell us why did he sabotage the same government agenda. And Miriam, this kind of contradiction that comes from these quarters is what makes them feel like the government, the president has not done anything to Mount Kenya region, but it's quite evidence he has done a lot. And Miriam, I would also like to remind everyone in this country, whether president comes from your region, when he is elected, he becomes the president and the head of state of a republic called Kenya. Therefore, the development should not be concentrated in where he comes from, but he's supposed to lead and work to every corner of this country and to make sure there is service and development. And that is where they have problem with, because the president is taking development to Kisumu, to Kisii, to every corner of this country, even to Mombasa and so on. Therefore, this is called unity and bringing inclusivity. And therefore, in future, and as voters, we should understand that whether a president comes from your region, he is not the president of that region. He is the president and the head of state. And development are equilateral, shared along the country. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, very well. And of course, Major General Badi, who has caused Governor Mike Sonko a lot of heartache, I think. Major General Badi has also appointed Major Andrew Ikenye as Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company chairperson for 3 years. And now, as we speak, water is flowing in pipes in all informal settlements where a drop fell. They have not seen a drop of water since years back. And Uhuru, it appears, holds the KDF in high regard and has entrusted it with the task of ridding City Hall of corruption and cartels. And of course, the cartels are not very happy about that. Obviously, they've been benefiting at the expense of the misery of the people of Nairobi especially. All right, thank you so much. This has been Good Morning Africa. Thank you, Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi from Meru. And yes, now you've promised I'll be waiting for those bananas from your mom. All right, thank you so much.
No, I was saying.
All right, thank you. We shall be back here at 11 a.m. and we shall be looking at the BBI. Has the train already left the station? All right, my name is Miriam Mugotu. Good morning.